Hi everyone, this is Clint from Persuasive Evangelism. I'm doing another car video. I just went for a walk around the lake in town, Lake Sacagawea. The other day I was driving to church and this song popped into my head. I hadn't heard it or even thought about it since I was a kid. We sang it in chapel and I just got some of it, and then I was asking my sister and my mom if they remembered the song, and we kind of got some of the lyrics right, but it goes like this. It's kind of a fun song. Now I'm gonna get it wrong. Ho 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 Hosanna, ha ha ha, hallelujah. He saved me. I got the joy of the Lord. One more time. Ho 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 Hosanna, ha ha ha, hallelujah. He saved me. I got the joy of the Lord. So just a fun song. So today I'm gonna review this book, Seeing the Supernatural by Lee Strobel. He's one of my favorite authors, Christian authors. Investigating angels, demons, mystical dreams, near-death encounters, and other mysteries of the unseen world. Now, Lee Strobel's written a lot of books, and I've read a lot of them. He was a atheist and I think a reporter in Chicago, and his wife became a Christian, and he didn't like that at all. So he was going to use his like investigative skills and reach out to experts and try to prove that, basically disprove Jesus, like he didn't die on the cross, he didn't rise from the dead. But as he was going through all the evidence, he found the evidence strong for Jesus' death and resurrection, and God used that to change his heart, and he became a Christian. So his first book he wrote about that is Case for Christ. It's a really good book. I recommend it. They actually came out with a movie as well, which was pretty good too, so I recommend that movie. But most of his books go through the same kind of same format. Like, it will be about a topic, and then he'll interview experts in that topic. So each chapter he might interview a separate person. And this book is similar, but he's written a lot of books. Case for Christ, Case for Creator, Case for Faith, Case for Grace, Case for Heaven. A lot of those, but this one isn't a case one, but it's same format. The chapters he's going to go over like the spiritual world. It says the invisible you, the existence of your soul. Interview with Sharon Dursey. I actually took a class from Sharon Dursey when I went to Oxford in England for like a week of Bible classes, and she taught one of the classes, so I got to meet her. Astounding Miracles Today, basic by Greg S. Kinnear. Basically, he documents like miraculous healings across the world, and a lot of times it's, they pray and then they're miraculously healed. Life-changing spiritual encounters, mystical dreams and visions. Like I've read a lot of missionaries say a lot of Muslims in the Middle East, they get like visions of a man in white, like Jesus, basically reaching out to them to reach out to a Christian or just to confirm, Christianity. And then the encouraging truth about angels, the sobering reality of Satan and demons, deathbed visions, glimpses of the afterlife. Basically, he interviews someone Steve Miller, who documents like when people are dying, sometimes they'll have like a glimpse of the afterlife, and is it true or not? But they do mention like Stephen, the first martyr in the New Testament, as he was being stoned to death, he saw like a vision of the heavens opening up and saw Jesus standing next to the right hand of God. Extraordinary near-death experiences. That's when someone's their heart stops, or they're in the hospital and they think they're dead, maybe for a few minutes or an hour, and then they come back. And some of those might be like they're being operated on and they're unconscious, and it's like they're hovering right next to their body watching it, and then when they come to, they notice, well, like above this lamp there was this piece of tape or something, or like how would they see that? But it kind of goes over some of that. What can we know about heaven? The logic of damnation. And then life after death, evidence for the resurrection by J. Warner Wallace. I've read several of his books. He does the evidence, goes over some of the evidence for the resurrection of Christ. And then ghost stories, psychics, and the paranormal. So it's an interesting book to go over that. And they, do it from a Christian perspective. What is that? Like, are ghosts just, like demons and so on? But, there's a few little things I wanted to read. So on this page, the bottom of the graph, I think this is when they're talking about, just the documenting all these miraculous healings. And it just mentions cataracts and goiters instantly and visibly healed, he said. Paralytics suddenly able to walk. Multiple sclerosis radically cured. Broken bones suddenly mended. Hearing for the deaf. Sights for the blind. Voices restored. Burns disappearing. Massive hemorrhaging stopped. Failing kidneys cured. Arthritis and osteoporosis gone. Life given back to the dead even after several hours. I have accounts from around the world: China, Mozambique, the Philippines, Nigeria, Argentina, Brazil, Cuba, Ecuador, Indonesia, South Korea, and other countries. Multiple independent eyewitnesses with reputations for integrity, including physicians. Names, dates, medical documentations in many cases. There's even a peer-reviewed scientific study confirming the healing of the deaf. And then let me get to the next section. Oh, and this is what Sharon Dursey was saying about we're not just physical, we do have a soul. And she goes, however, the existence of God provides a firm foundation for our meaning. We can't simply look to the age of the cosmos, nor is our value based on what we accomplish. It comes from God. We are created and loved by Him. The reason all of us have a longing for eternity is that indeed we were made by God to live forever. God is relational and existing from eternity past as the Trinity, and so like Him, we are relational beings. This means we can interact personally with God. He is someone to be encountered. He is a first-person experience, not a third-person observation. We can go beyond facts about God and really know Him. With that, she stressed her conclusion. Actually, that's the ultimate point of consciousness, so that we can know God. That's the meaning of life. So then let's go to 238. Okay, so what this is, I think, talking about this is a section on ghosts. And they say, according to the Bible, what really happens when we die, and how does that impact the idea of ghosts, I asked. Rhodes' answers begin with the declaration. The biblical viewpoint on the afterlife thoroughly dismantles the ideas that ghosts wander among us. How so? The Bible states that the dead do not return to earth as spirits. Instead, upon death, a believer's spirit leaves the physical body and immediately enters the presence of the Lord in heaven. This is why the Apostle Paul longed to depart and be with Christ. In 2 Corinthians 5:8, we are taught that Christians are away from the body in death and are at home with the Lord in heaven. The text emphasizes an instantaneous transition from earthly life to heavenly life. What about unbelievers? At death, the spirit of an unbeliever is involuntarily confined to a place of suffering, as described in Luke 16:19-31, which is where Jesus tells about a rich man and Lazarus who had died, with the rich man in a place of suffering and Lazarus in a place of bliss. I asked, what lessons can we glean from the story? First, both the rich man and Lazarus were fully aware of their deaths and entry into the afterlife. Second, at death, their eternal destinies were sealed. Third, after death, they could not remain on earth as ghosts. Fourth, the dead and the living on earth could not contact each other. Visiting earth, even to warn loved ones, was not an option. And fifth, the righteous dead and the wicked dead were separated from earth or from each other, with the wicked in torment. This disproves the claims by psychics that the other side is equally wonderful for everyone. So that's part of the chapter on ghosts. And then one last thing about Gollum and Lord of the Rings, Okay, and I think that this one is talking about the logic of damnation. So this chapter is entitled From Smeagol to Gollum. So Smeagol was the Hobbit, and when he finds the ring, it slowly corrupts him, and he becomes Gollum, this weird creature. So it says, even so, Copan said, as people in hell continue to hate and resist God over time, the divine image in many of them may very well become eclipsed, so that they turn into mere wisps and shadows of what they once were. Notice how revelation and irrational human hostility, despite God's severe judgments, he said. The text refers to people being seared by intense heat, the beast kingdom becoming darkened, and huge hailstones falling from the sky. People gnawed their tongues because of pain, and yet nevertheless, despite all this, they continue to curse and blaspheme God. What's going on here could be called corrosivism. What do you mean by that? I mean that the end state of the unredeemed is the diminishing of their humanity, something akin to the deterioration of J.R.R. Tolkien's Hobbit Smeagol. Over time, he turned into the diminished, corroded, corrupted, wisp-like sub-hobbit creature Gollum. Some theologians claim that unredeemed people who resist God to the end will eventually be extinguished from existence. In a way, this kind of diminished humanity bears some resemblance to that view, who they were once had faded away. Copan pulled out a quote from N.T. Wright. It seems it is possible for human beings to choose to live more and more out of tune with the divine intention, to reflect the image of God less and less. There is nothing to stop them finally ceasing to bear that image, and so to be, as it were, beings who were once human but are not now, he wrote. Those who persistently refuse to follow Jesus, the true image of God, will by their own choice become less and less like him. That is, less and less truly human. We sometimes say, even of living people, that they have become inhuman. I see nothing in the New Testament to make me reject the possibility that some, perhaps many of God's human creatures do choose and will choose to dehumanize themselves completely. Copan put down his paper. His look was at once sober and sad. And so he said, we end up not with human beings in hell, but with human remains, as C.S. Lewis put it, human debris, subhuman creatures in whom the light of the image of God has effectively been extinguished. That's so very, very tragic. So that's talking about non-believers in hell. Kind of that's what C.S. Lewis wrote about in The Great Divorce. It takes place in hell. It's an interesting book. So I recommend this book but the gospel good news is you don't have to go to hell. Jesus died for our sins on the cross, for each one of us, because he loves us, and he rose from the dead, defeating death. And Jesus says, whoever believes in me will not perish and will have everlasting life. You can ask him to forgive your sins. You're forgiven. Just ask him to be the Lord of your life, and you're saved and forgiven. You're a son or daughter of God, and Jesus is with you through this life. And the moment you die, which we all will, you'll be in paradise with Jesus and God. So that's the good news of the gospel. But I do recommend this book. I recommend all his books. I really enjoy them. But thanks, everyone. Goodbye. God bless.